Good morning. That was beautiful, Bonnie. Thank you. I need the words to that song. Welcome, dear friends. Welcome to our spiritual home, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tarpon Springs. Our church is located here in the heart of the walkable Tarpon Springs Historic District and is known as the home of the beautiful Innes paintings. My name is Judy Pickett. I'm now the treasurer of the congregation, and today I'm serving as your worship associate. We are a church of many welcomes, and we offer a warm welcome to all of you who have joined us today. If you're here in the building, we encourage you to meet your friends on Zoom in the forum room after the service. This is a liberal community for all ages, promoting spiritual growth, social justice, and the arts. As such, ours is an active church, and everyone is invited to participate in any of our activities, whether you are a member or not. To learn more about events or see our church calendar on the website, uutarpon.org, or you can discuss activities with church members or our membership chair. Where'd she go? Judy's here. There she is. And who will contact you if we get more information from you. Although our children are not with us during this service at this time, we do have a faith formation programming, excuse me, with our gifted leader, Jami Cruz. Children are gathering for their time together with her and a member of the congregation. They meet outside on the patio. If you'd like more information about this programming, please contact Reverend Kristina or see Jami after the service. For those present with us in the building, we have connection cards. And I see mostly people I know here, but in case I don't, these cards are there. You can fill them out, put them in the offering, and we'll make sure that Judy gets in touch with you. So we're delighted to have Reverend Kristina Spaude leading our service today. And our music is provided by our music director, Bonnie Whitehurst. Bonnie will be singing throughout the service, and you're welcome to sing along, wearing a mask, to the songs and hymns. Again, welcome. And as is traditional, at this point, we're going to light the chalice to begin our service. Oh, we got a new candle. That's good. New candle. The words are by Bruce Southworth. I know him. This is really wonderful. For the gift of this day and for our community of spiritual nurture and compassion, we give thanks. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. May our many sparks meet and merge in communion of the heart and soul. And I'd also like to light this candle in support of our Ukrainian friends who need our support so much.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the giving life the shape of justice. Roots won't be close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come
Thank you for the Coldplay to open the service today, Bonnie. Makes my little XNL heart just burst. Our story today is The Brave Little Parrot, as told by Rafe Martin. Once, long ago, the Buddha was born as a little parrot. One day, a storm fell upon his forest home. Lightning flashed, thunder crashed, and a dead tree struck by lightning burst into flames. Sparks leapt out on the wind, and soon the forest was ablaze. Terrified animals ran wildly in every direction, seeking safety from the flames and smoke. "Fire! Fire!" cried the little parrot. "To the river!" Flapping his wings, he flung himself out into the fury of the storm and, rising higher, flew towards the safety of the river. But as he flew, he could see that many animals were trapped, surrounded by the flames below, with no chance of escape. Suddenly, a desperate idea, a way to save them, came to him. He darted to the river, dipped himself in the water, and flew back over the now raging fire. The heat rising up from the burning forest was like the heat of an oven. The thick smoke made breathing almost unbearable. A wall of flames shot up on one side and then the other. Crackling flames leapt before him. Twisting and turning through the mad maze of fire, the little parrot flew bravely on. At last, when he was over the center of the forest, he shook his wings and released the few drops of water which still clung to his feathers. The tiny drops tumbled down like jewels into the heart of the blaze and vanished with a hiss. Then the little parrot once more flew back through the flames and smoke to the river, dipped himself in the cool water, and flew back again over the burning forest. Back and forth he flew time and time again, from the river to the forest, from the burning forest to the river. His feathers were charred. His feet were scorched. His lungs ached. His eyes, stung by smoke, turned red as coals. His mind spun as dizzily as the spinning sparks. But still, the little parrot flew on. At this time, some of the divas, gods of a happy realm, were floating overhead in their cloud palaces of ivory and gold. They happened to look down, and they saw the little parrot flying among the flames. They pointed at him with their perfect hands. Between mouthfuls of honeyed foods, they exclaimed, Look at that foolish bird. He's trying to put out a raging forest fire with a few sprinkles of water. How absurd!" And they laughed. But one of those gods, strangely moved, changed himself into a golden eagle and flew down toward the little parrot's fiery path. The little parrot was just nearing the flames again when the great eagle, with eyes like molten gold, appeared at his side. "Go back, little bird," said the eagle in a solemn and majestic voice. "Your task is hopeless. A few drops of water can't put out a forest fire. Seize now and save yourself before it is too late." But the little parrot only continued to fly through the smoke and the flames. He could hear the great eagle flying above him as the heat grew fiercer, calling out, "Stop, foolish parrot, save yourself, save yourself." "I don't need a great shining eagle," coughed the little parrot, "to give me advice like that. My own mother, the dear bird, might have told me such things as well long ago. Advice. I don't need advice. I just need someone to help." And the God who was that great eagle, seeing the little parrot flying through the flames, thought suddenly of his own privileged kind. He could see them high above. There they were, the carefree gods, laughing and talking while many animals cried out in pain and fear from the flames below. And he grew ashamed. Then one single desire was kindled in his heart. God, though he was, he just wanted to be like that brave little parrot and to help. "I will help," he exclaimed, and flushed with these new feelings, he began to weep. Stream after stream of sparkling tears poured from his eyes. Wave upon wave, they washed down like the cooling rain upon the fire, upon the forest, upon the animals, and upon the little parrot himself. The flames died down and the smoke began to clear. The little parrot, washed and bright, rocketed about the sky, laughing for joy. "Now that's more like it," he exclaimed. The eagle's tears dripped from burned branches. Smoke rose up from the scorched earth. Miraculously, where those tears glistened, new life pushed forth. Fresh shoots, stems, and leaves. Green grass pushed up from among still glowing cinders. Where the teardrops sparkled on the parrot's wings, new feathers grew. Red feathers, green feathers, yellow feathers, such bright colors, such a handsome bird. All the animals looked at one another in amazement. They were whole and well. Not one had been harmed. Up above in the clear blue sky, they could see their brave friend, the little parrot, looping and soaring in delight. When all hope was gone, somehow he had saved them. "Hooray," they cried. "Hooray for the brave little parrot and for the miraculous rain."
Blood will flow when flesh and steel are one, drying in the color of the evening sun to wash the stain away, but something in our minds will always stay. Perhaps this final act was meant to cleanse a lifetime's argument. Nothing comes from violence, nothing ever could, for all those born beneath an angry star, lest we forget how fragile we are. On and on the rain will fall like tears from a star, like tears from a star. On and on the rain will say how fragile we are, how fragile we are. On and on the rain will fall like tears from a star, like tears from a star. On and on the rain will say how fragile we are, how fragile we are.
Now is the time in the service where we take our offering for the work and welfare of this church. This month, the Social Justice Council is asking for donations for Ready for Life. This organization serves youth in Pinellas County, ages 15 to 25, who are in foster care or are transitioning out of foster care. To support this work, please go to our website, UUCTS.org, and click the Donate button. Select Social Justice and write Ready for Life in the memo. Or you may mail your offering to our office at 57 Reed Street, Tarpon Springs 34689. Just note Ready for Life in the memo line of your check. The offering will now be given and received.
I was sitting in a crummy movie with my hands on my chin. All the violence that occurred seemed like we never win. Love and mercy are what you need tonight. Love and mercy to you and your friends tonight. I was lying in my room and the news came on TV. There's a lot of people out there hurting and it really scares me. Love and mercy Do, 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 do. I was standing in a crowd and watching all the people there. All the loneliness in the world, and it's just not fair. Love and mercy are what you need tonight. Love and mercy to you and your friends tonight. Love and mercy are what we need tonight. Love and mercy to you and your friends tonight. Do, 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 do.
Every time something happens in the world, my collegial groups on Facebook light up with, oh God, do I scrap what I've written and write something for this particular event? Every time. And it seems like I don't think we can even keep up with the things that are happening in the world right now. It would just be like constantly every day writing something new. I had already decided to change what I was going to be speaking about today, and I figured a double pivot was not going to help anyone. That being said, some of you may remember I have mentioned that I had done a study abroad in Russia. My heart is aching for the Ukrainians and for the Russian people. And my heart is aching for the people of Texas, where the governor said this week, basically that holistic care for trans children is child abuse, and for the passage in the Florida House of the so-called Don't Say Gay bill. In particular, thinking about war as well as the assault on bodies. The first words that came to mind for me this week were those of the late Nancy Schaefer. So I offer this piece as a prayer. It's called Blessing for Bodies. May we, creatures of bone and tissue, know our bodies well. The fourth rib, how it rises higher than the third, not so high as the fifth. How it feels to the thumb, slowly traced, and under it, how the heart rests. May we know that space where no ribs lie, and unshielded, we bend. May we know the bottom of each toe and that tender arch where no skin touches ground. Also, skin smoothed, soft by clothing. May we know the quick curve of the head before it sits on the spine, and the tiny hollow just behind the ear. The length of the forearm lifting food to lips, and how lips become a circle, waiting, and knowing this cease our study of war. Our reading today comes from Zora Neale Hurston, who was born in 1891 in Alabama. During her early years, the family lived in Eatonville, Florida, in an incorporated all-Black town in the country. She led an interesting life, traveling and studying folklore. Her formal education as a child stopped when she was 13 after the death of her mother, and returned to education when she was 30 years old to study anthropology at Barnard College and Columbia University. She went on to write plays and novels, the most famous of which is Their Eyes Were Watching God. Her novels never became well read until the late 1900s. At the time of her death in 1960, she was living in poverty. This is a piece that Barbara Rosen shared with me and is an excerpt from Dust Tracks on a Road, an autobiography. Naturally, I felt like other children in that death, destruction, and other agonies were never meant to touch me. Things like that happened to other people, and no wonder. They were not like me and mine. Naturally, the world and the firmaments careened to one side a little so as not to inconvenience me. In fact, the universe went farther than that. It was happy to break a few rules just to show me preference. For instance, for a long time, I gloated over the happy secret that when I played outdoors in the moonlight, the moon followed me, whichever way I ran. The moon was so happy when I came out to play that it ran, shining and shouting after me like a pretty puppy dog. The other children didn't count. But I was rudely shaken out of this when I confided my happy secret to Carrie Roberts, my chum. It was cruel. She not only scorned my claim, she said that the moon was paying me no mind at all. The moon, my own happy, private playing moon, was out in its play yard to race and play with her. We disputed the matter with hot jealousy, and nothing would do but we must run a race to prove which one the moon was loving. First, we both ran a race side by side, but that proved nothing because we both contended that the moon was going that way on account of us. I just knew that the moon was there to be with me, but Carrie kept on saying that it was herself that the moon preferred. So then it came to me that we ought to run in opposite directions so that Carrie could come to her senses and realize the moon was mine. So we both stood with our backs to our gate, counted 3, and tore out in opposite directions. Look, look, Carrie, I cried exultantly. You see, the moon is following me. Ah, use a tale teller. You know it's chasing me. So Carrie and I parted company, mad as we could be at each other. When the other children found out what the quarrel was about, they laughed it off. They told me the moon always followed them. The unfaithfulness of the moon hurt me deeply. My moon followed Carrie Roberts. My moon followed Matilda Clark and Julia Mosley and Oscar and T.D. Miller. But after a while, I ceased to ache over the moon's many loves. I found comfort in the fact that though I was not the moon's exclusive friend, I was still among those who showed the moon which way to go. That was my earliest conscious hint that the world didn't tilt under my footfalls, nor careen over one-sided just to make me glad. October 4th, 2008, I adopted a cat. I had recently come out of a relationship that had left me feeling gutted. And family and friends kept saying, "Get a cat." My friend and coworker took me that day to the local humane society, which was overrun with animals. A sweet-faced tabby put her paw through the cage door as I walked by. Twice. She became my one. After several days and searching through baby name lists, many conversations, and racking my brain, I was washing dishes as I was getting ready for work one morning, and I looked at her and said, "Paisley." She looked at me like she recognized her name, and so it was. My mother told me how cool it was that I was going to name her Paisley and that my grandmother would be delighted. After a week of emails and phone calls inquiring about the name, I learned that my grandmother had been born in a town called Paisley, Scotland. That's how our lives have been, intertwined by something we would not pretend to understand or name, but by which we were bound nonetheless. 6 weeks ago today, I was waiting to hear back from the emergency vet. I'd had to take Paisley in the night before after she'd been sick for a week. She'd always had either me or home every night, and I was upset to my core having had to leave her there. That morning, they were going to do an ultrasound, and I was waiting to hear when I could bring her home. I just kept saying, "I just want my cat back." Later that afternoon, I instead got the call that, based on the ultrasound and her complicated condition, they were recommending I come in and say goodbye. I listened politely and instead told them I was bringing her home. "You can do that, but we must tell you that it's against medical advice." It was a terrible night with a good bit of sobbing, as my soulmate did not recover as she had in the past. Despite my protests, she was in fact done. Although I will tell you, she was also mad about it. Physically, her body was failing, and she'd known it for a few months before. Mentally and emotionally, she still had work to do. But I wouldn't let her, and I put her down the next day. Paisley was smart and super funny. Not that any of you would have known if you'd met her, because she was also clear that she had one job, and she was completely devoted to it. And that was me. She always knew where I was, and eventually she was able to hang in different rooms than the one that I was in, albeit I was often still in her line of sight. Nothing else mattered. She had something of what would have been a parlor trick if she would have let people see it. Paisley always knew when I was talking to her. Not when I was talking, but when I was talking to her. And her tail would involuntarily start going every time. In the mere 13 years, 3.5 months Paisley and I had together, we went through a lot. At least a handful of moves, including the last 2 that took us further and further from home. Multiple jobs and under and unemployment. Surgeries for both of us. Chronic illness for both of us. Cancer for us both. A marriage and its end. Seminary, internship, chaplaincy residency and fellowship. Death of 3 grandparents, including the grandmother she and I were both bound with by the eternal, peaceful, loving mystery of the universe. And so much else. So many losses. So many joys, too. And we also shared constant companionship and the profound gift of knowing that we always had each other. A big one among the joys. Paisley keeps watching over me now from the altar in my living room, just feet from one of her favorite beds to sleep in, where she could watch me while I worked and played, as well as now from within my heart. I do not tell you these stories about Paisley because they're remarkable, although for me, of course, they are. I don't tell you it because I need you to know about her. I tell you because we are all experiencing losses right now, and this is a story that is mine to tell. For some, we may have lost our fur kids. For some, it is siblings or parents or children. It may be illness or a condition. It may be any of a long list of things. For all of us, too, it is also the ongoing, ever-present awareness of the loss of normalcy in all of our lives. We are fast approaching the end of the 2nd year of our discontent, also known as year 2 of COVID. I had planned to do a service on this closer to the time that the church shut down, which would be in the next couple of weeks, but I have felt so much anxiety and tension from people in the last couple of weeks that I figured we needed to start thinking about it now. The last 2 years have been marked by a deep and different, inescapable trauma and grief that many of us here have not experienced before, although it is not unlike what marginalized folks have experienced a long, long time, and not unlike the AIDS epidemic that left thousands dead. But this scale is unlike what anyone in living memory has experienced, worldwide and indiscriminating, unless you have any of a variety of health issues, in which case only multiple vaccinations lessen your likelihood of dying. Most of us aren't used to death having a seat at every table, sitting across from you in the room and keeping you from all the people you hold most dear. It seemed when I worked at the hospital that every person who worked in the emergency department at some point told me how grateful they were not to have my job. Doctors who had to tell families that their loved one was dying or had died, sometimes from something completely unexpected, or giving terminal diagnoses or some other life-altering news. Nurses having to take care of people, the check-in people having to deal with difficult people. All of them were grateful that they didn't have my job as a chaplain. All of the falls, the massive heart attacks, the overdoses, strokes, abdominal aortic aneurysms, four-wheeler and other vehicular accidents, and everything else I witnessed, as hard as that was, almost always at least family or friends were there or coming or otherwise connected. Until the pandemic started. Possibly one of the hardest parts of it all. It wasn't the lack of PPE or having to put it on, or whether we would have enough ventilators or negative pressure rooms or enough specialists who knew how to run the ECMO machines. For me, it was when visitations were limited or cut off. The policies were strict and enforced. There could be no in-person family gatherings to discuss end-of-life care with doctors, no bedside prayers during a compassionate extubation, no final in-person goodbyes for most family and friends, even the ones who didn't have COVID, and definitely not for the ones who did have COVID. And no travel for people who lived far, and no hopes to gather to memorialize because it was just too dangerous. The one thing I know about being human, apart from that we will die, is that we need each other in every single casual and profound way. COVID made it so that the very thing that saves us might also kill us. Grief shows up in many forms as anxiousness, dis-ease, sadness, anger, apathy. We are all more on edge. We have all lost so much. And everything we've known about how to best cope and process was delayed in ways that forced us into an emotional stuckness that continues. Telling our stories, a vital part of the grieving process, was limited. Gathering was unsafe. It all made what was already great pain worse. We need to resist the compulsion to return to how things were that has killed many and almost killed more and has made so many sick. That insistence on acting like everything is normal turns our gaze from the ongoing loss and sadness that we must face if we are to attempt to heal. Of course, we cannot make a home in these feelings. We must also find joy and hope, but we cannot board up the house and abandon it altogether either. In some ways, we are all like Zora Neale Hurston in the reading, moving from that feeling of being the only one in the world who the moon came to play with. That sense of the closeness and the specialness of the relationship, the sense of openness to the world, the sense of feeling free and happy. Then the sense of hurt and betrayal that the moon did not, in fact, revolve around her, that it had special relationships with other children. Then the tender realization that although their relationship wasn't exclusive, that didn't mean that it wasn't included and still special to her. Then, to the story for all ages, we have been like the parrot and the animals in the forest. Perhaps we have been like the fire and the plants that have been burned. Maybe we have been like the wind that carried the flames or the river that carried the potential snuffer. We may have been the gods, or once or twice, we may have been the great eagle. It's noteworthy that it is not the rivers of tears that save everyone exactly, but the compassion and empathy the eagle feels, thanks to the parrot, for the love and care the parrot has acted on for all the creatures exposed to the fire, and the ask not to be excused from the trauma or the tragedy, but only for more help to make whatever difference they could for everyone they could. There are multiple origin stories for a phrase, one which goes, traced back to the great Sufi poets hundreds of years ago, a monarch asks the wisest men he can find for words that will remind him when he is sad, he would be happy again, and when he is happy, he would be sad again. And after some time, the men come back with simply, this too shall pass. So many have died and become chronically ill in the last 2 years, and I don't think that the pandemic will pass so much as become somehow more a part of our lives that we learn how to live with. What these last 2 years have taught us very clearly is that we do indeed need each other. And if we continue to choose not to care for one another in such a way that those with the greatest needs are centered and prioritized, we all suffer. What the moon and the parrot teach us is to have more compassion for each other, to lift up and center what is the most special, and to love and care for each other with abandon. What my sweet Paisley's life has proved to me is that we have to do it now, and every time we think about it, if for no other reason than because we really don't have much time. If you would please join me in singing our closing hymn, number 6 in the gray hymnal, Just as Long as I Have Breath. Again, that is hymn number 6.
Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
I always close my services with these words from Jean Harrison Newyar, who has written in The Gift of Faith, in the lore of ancient China, there's a story of a philosopher who was asked, "Where is the road called hope?" He replied, "It does not exist, but as people move forward upon it, it comes into being." I invite you to continue moving forward on this beautiful, difficult path called hope with me.
lucky than Monday was, no worse than Sunday was. Drink l'chaim to life, to life, to life, l'chaim, 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 to life. A gift we seldom are wise enough to ever prize enough. Drink l'chaim to life. Our great UUs have written words of wisdom to be used when hardship must be faced. Life obliges us with hardship, so the words of wisdom shouldn't go to waste. To life, l'chaim, 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 to life. Life has a way of confusing us, blessing and bruising us. Drink l'chaim to life, to life, to life, l'chaim, 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 to life. It takes the service to make us say, let's live another day. Drink l'chaim to life. God would like us to be joyful, even when our hearts sigh, panting on the floor. How much more can we be joyful when there's really something to be joyful for? To us and our good fortune, be happy, be healthy, long life. May all your futures be pleasant ones, not like our present ones. Drink l'chaim to life.
That was weird. I hope you found meaning in the service today. I know I did. And I think Reverend Kristina touched on something for all of us universally. That's great. So now the words from Maggie Lovins. We extinguish this flame, but not its meaning and mission in our hearts. Our time together has come to an end. Go in peace, be of service to one another, and may you move through the world in love for all of your days. And now I have a couple of announcements. At the forum today, following the service, Ready for Life, having a representative from Ready for Life will be meeting with us to tell us a little bit more about their program. You probably saw, and I spoke about it earlier, so please stay around for the forum and meet that. And you also might have noticed out here in the social hall that there's a great big board with a lot of things on it, colors, and how many of you like coloring? You're going to use pencils or crayons or markers. I'm going to make an embroidery pattern out of the one I chose. It's a bit ambitious for me, but that's what I'm going to do. So the spirited drawings of plants and animals from our fellow member Karen Strobing are guaranteed to make you smile. They're now available. You'll be happy to know that the coloring pages by Karen are available to download and print from our website, which I found mine on, under the Arts Lab. You'll also find some printed sheets on display boards in the social hall today. We are all invited to join in the fun and post our finished creations on the board with the others. Many thanks to Karen for so graciously sharing her art with us. Go in peace.